Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Katie Arnold, and the Institute on Disability and Human Development, or IDHD for short, at the University of Illinois at Chicago, is Illinois' University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, or UCEDD. We're so excited to launch our new webinar series. The IDHD webinar series will share the latest in cutting-edge research, practice, and policy from experts on a range of topics related to disability. We're planning the webinars to be quarterly, and for some of them, we'll provide continuing education units, or CEUs, depending on the topic. If you have an idea for a topic that you would like to see, please feel free to contact me and let me know. Today's topic is UCEDD What? Discover the University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. Some of you may have heard of the UCEDD, while for others of you, this may be new. Even for those familiar with the UCEDD, it can be confusing to understand exactly what the UCEDD does and how the work could be relevant to you. So we're excited to really share and highlight the work and talk about ways that you can be engaged and use the work that we do here. Please feel free to type questions into the chat box, and we will answer them at the end of our presentation today. First, we want to provide some background about us as presenters. Again, I'm Katie Arnold, and I've been working at the Institute on Disability and Human Development for over 16 years. I'm the Director of Community Education, and much of my work serves as a bridge between the research and services we provide at UIC and in the community of people with disabilities, families, and professionals in Illinois. I'm passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with disabilities and families. I grew up with multiple siblings with disabilities, and this has really impacted my worldview and career path. I received my master's here at the Department of Disability and Human Development, and I'm in the process of working on my doctorate in disability studies. Now I'll turn it over to Tamar Heller, the Director of IDHD.
Hello, welcome everyone. And let me just say a little bit about myself before I give you an overview about our UCEDD and what we're all about. So I am also, in addition to directing our University Center of Excellence in Developmental Disability, our UCEDD, I am also head of our Department of Disability and Human Development. We're kind of unique because we are really one of the only UCEDDs in the country that's also its own department. I'll tell you a lot more about the department later. You'll be hearing about that. I've also been directing two national rehabilitation research and training centers. One is on family support, and the other one has been on developmental disabilities and health, which was previously developmental disabilities and aging. So I've done a lot of work on bridging disability and aging. The other aspect that I have done a lot of work in is around health promotion and family support policies. And I am also a family member. I am a sibling, and like Katie, we both co-founded the Sibling Leadership Network. So that's a big part of our identity. So first of all, let me tell you about the UCEDD, and it stands for University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And it came out of the Developmental Disabilities Act of 2000, which authorized a national network of these centers. Well, actually, it started even before, but it had a different name. Before, they used to be called UAPs, University-Affiliated Programs, started under the Kennedys, actually. But in the DD Act of 2000, it was authorized to support the flow of disability-related information between universities and the community. Now, there's 67 UCEDDs across the nation, at least one in every state and territory. And what's amazing is there's the Association of University Centers on Disability, which has at least 100 universities that include these 67 UCEDDs plus 52 LENDs, which are leadership, education, and neurodevelopment and related disabilities. And they also have the intellectual disability research centers, which are funded by the National Institute of Health. So what we have is this incredible network that we are able to draw upon, not only to know about the latest research, the latest practices, the latest policies. We have collaborators when we want to do projects. We have other people we can call across the country to find out the latest. The Association of University Centers on Disability has special interest groups in many different topics, so we can really keep up to date. And they also are part of the disability policy summits and do a lot of advocacy around national disability policies, which affects all of us in our states. So we are very excited. We have been an institute since we've been an institute before 1988, but we have been a department since 1997. So we have quite a history. Before that, we were actually part of the Illinois Department of Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, and we were a state program before we became part of the university. In terms of our mission, the mission of the Institute is dedicated to promoting the independence, productivity, and inclusion of people with disabilities in all aspects of society. And we realize our mission through academic programs, clinical services, research centers, and community programs. So we have 4 main functions. And one function that is a really big part of our mission is pre-service training. So you will hear a whole lot about our pre-service training, and having our department has really enabled us to be leaders in the country in pre-service training of the next cadre of people and professionals that are in the field. The second is around community service, and that's where our clinics come in, and you'll be hearing about our family clinic and our assistive technology unit and other work that we do in the community. We have a goal of research, and we're not an ivory tower kind of place. You will see that our research is really geared to applied research, research that makes a difference, research that translates into policies and practices. So we have a lot of research briefs, and that goes into our dissemination. So we have a mission that whatever research we do, we try to come up with accessible ways of getting it out to the community and having interventions that we develop get scaled up. And so you'll be hearing more about our dissemination.
So now we're going to discuss the work that we do at the Illinois UCEDD by going through the 4 core functions that Tamar just mentioned. So I'll start with the interdisciplinary academic training, which is also called pre-service training. We do a lot of work to prepare the next generation of leaders in the field of disability. The UIC Interdisciplinary Doctorate Program in Disability Studies was the first PhD program in disability studies in the U.S. The field of disability studies has gained momentum, and there are now a number of programs across the country, with many of our graduates helping to start up and grow the disability studies programs. Our graduates are doing great work all over the country and world. For example, one of our graduates, Carly Friedman, is the Director of Research working at the Council on Quality and Leadership. Another graduate, Luca Bedetti, is the Community Life Director at LARS Chicago, and he also teaches about disability at Loyola University's Institute for Pastoral Studies and in DePaul University's Peace, Justice, and Conflict Studies program. Luca has a new book out called I Believe in You, which provides stories from community life alongside people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, which is really exciting. So those are just 2 examples of some of the things our graduates are doing. We also have 2 certificate programs for professionals in the field. We have a disability ethics certificate program as well as an assistive technology certificate program. Both offer online and in-person courses. The Disability Ethics Certificate provides specialized training in a critical approach to ethical dilemmas concerning life with disability, and it's led by Carol Gill. We're so excited that our Assistive Technology Certificate program, led by Glenn Hedman, is newly accredited by RESNA, the Rehabilitation Engineering and Assistive Technology Society of North America. This is helping to train more professionals with expertise in assistive technology that can aid people with disabilities and their families, especially as technology advances to allow people with disabilities to live more independently in the community. Currently, there are 68 students in the AT certificate program. In 2014, we launched a successful undergrad minor in Disability and Human Development, and in 2017, we launched a Bachelor's of Science degree major in Disability and Human Development. The major continues the minor's work in examining various aspects of society that uniquely impact the experience and development of people living with disabilities. Within our undergrad programs, first 3 years, 64 students graduated with a minor in Disability and Human Development, and the major program graduated its first student in its first year of existence. 293 students are currently enrolled in the major and minor, so it really shows that there's an interest and a need there. For those of you that are interested in applying to our program, there's contact information for you to learn more information on this slide about the application process. Our faculty, staff, and students are diverse in their backgrounds and their interests. We have a large percentage of our students and faculty with disabilities. Our classes use a disability studies approach that is multidisciplinary and offers a unique opportunity to study the multi-layered interactional dynamics of disability. The program addresses disability in its full complexity, promoting an awareness of disability that supports individuals in shaping their identity and lives. We examine how support services and social and political change can reduce sources of disempowerment. So how can our program help you? Our program develops future leaders in the field. You may be someone interested in applying to be part of the program, or you may be part of an organization looking to hire highly competent leaders from our program's pipeline of graduates to help enhance the work of your organization. Also, for those of you from other college or university programs, we provide a training ground for students from other schools to get experience working with people with disabilities. For example, we have social work interns that gain clinical and policy experience with us. Our students are looking for ways to engage in the disability community in Illinois, and you may have ideas to share with us of ways students can get involved, such as volunteer or paid opportunities. For example, our undergraduate program has a capstone class where students work with community agencies on a project. Also, our LEND students have a number of volunteer and leadership hours they do with community agencies to gain practical experience, and which also help out organizations on relevant projects that benefit their work. One example is LEND students did projects on effective family health care professional partnerships, a project on sibling support, health disparity research, and examining barriers to the IEP process. So those are just some examples of the projects that our students have done, and they're eager to get involved in community agencies and help do projects there. If your organization is looking for students to help with projects, please let us know.
I'm going to be talking about our community services, Goal 2, which we have, and first about our family clinic. And our family clinic has many programs that serve the community, and I will give examples about all our different programs. One of the aspects that's unique about our family clinic is that it's fully bilingual and bicultural. And it's one of the very few in the state with expertise in developmental disabilities that is bilingual and bicultural. And we have a very big mission of serving the underserved. And so much of our activities are around that. And we're meeting a huge need, especially in the area of autism lately. Quite a few of the people who come through now have autism. What we do in our clinics include diagnostic work, which is interdisciplinary. We have counseling, we have support groups. We educate professionals and families. Among our staff include, in addition to physician, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychologists, counselors, developmental therapists, speech therapists. We have a lifespan approach, so we have everything from babies to older people that we serve. We have fostered various support groups, one being Grupo Salto, which many of you have probably heard of. It has over 500 families of Latinos with a member who has autism. And I remember when we first started it, and 11 people were about to show up for our first support group, and only one person showed up. And now we have full houses where people bring their families, and we tend to hold the activities here in the building, and sometimes we outgrow with so many that come to the activities. We are part of the TAP network, which is the Autism Network in Illinois, which is a collaboration of 15 agencies, including several universities. We are a key player in that. It's a collaboration of 15 agencies, and they operate 17 centers across the state to provide services to children, families, educators, daycare providers, and medical professionals. Some of the activities that we do through the TAP program include social skills groups, mentoring of college students, including a peer-led ASPE group, which is across 4 different colleges. We have a diagnostic center. We do webinar series. We have assistive technology specifically around autism. We have monthly meetings on the latest in autism research and practice, and it's a site for many trainees that come to our clinic and to Grupo Salto and to our other activities. Several years ago, we took over the Child and Family Development Center, which is the early intervention program of 0 to 3s. And recently, we've also expanded to do therapy and skill-building groups with 4- and 5-year-olds. And that is also a fully bilingual program. So we serve a very important need, and we really have a huge demand for that program because there's really very poor funding for people on Medicaid, for example, and Medicaid managed care that, for example, does not pay for psychological diagnostics, which so many people need it, and particularly we have found that people that are Latino or from other minority communities have a hard time getting the diagnostics that they need. A second clinic that we have is the Assistive Technology Unit. And our UCEDD hosts, our Assistive Technology Unit includes evaluation, implementation and follow-up services to community members' homes with 8 mobile units. And that's what makes us unique, is that we have these mobile vans that will go out to where people work, where people live, where people recreate, to really see what their natural setting is like. They include accessible housing services and reviews of work done by local contractors. That's a very big piece of what they do, and services to individuals. We have it provided 216 services to 143 individuals in the past year regarding specifications for accessible housing, and the services were provided by referral from the Illinois Department of Human Services Division of Rehab Services Home Services Program and the Illinois Department on Aging as part of the Colbert Consent Decree. One unfortunate aspect is that the Assistive Technology Unit is no longer funded by Department of Human Services Developmental Disabilities, and we get many requests to go out and do assessments in developmental disabilities, and we're really not able to pay for that. And that's a service that's much needed. We also provide services for vocational rehabilitation, such as helping in high school transition programs, support employment, competitive employment, job retention, and job promotion situations. The services most often provided include electronic aids to daily living, computer access, and worksite modifications. And an additional area of service is in adaptive equipment where custom components are fabricated using 3D printing techniques. So we have a full load of professionals, including architects, OTs, PTs, speech pathologists, and rehab engineers. And we also work with many students in rehabilitation engineering that come over here and get training in this really important area. One area that we are unique is in terms of community services, our Disability Arts and Culture program. And This Disability Arts and Culture program also sponsors Bodies of Work, which is a consortium of more than 50 of Chicago's cultural, academic, healthcare, and social service organizations. And it's pretty amazing because if you've noticed, especially if you live in Chicago, that there's been so many activities that include artists with disabilities around the city, at the museums, at the theaters. We work closely with Access Living and independent living centers to provide joint programs together, and we've been able to bring disabled artists from throughout the country to come here to our university and to these cultural institutions. So we are the administrative home of this Bodies of Work. Several years ago, it put on a Disability Arts Festival that lasted for many days across the top cultural institutions in the city. Another area that we work in is through a grant from VSA, is that we're able to, which is Very Special Arts, sponsor artists in residence who have disabilities that do residency here at UIC. And that's really wonderful for their career and being able to promote their work. So this program is headed by Carrie Fandal, who's done so much work in this area and actually promotes disability arts throughout the world. She's been well thought of all across the country to provide this work.
We also have the Great Lakes ADA Center, which is one of 10 federally funded technical assistance centers on the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. The center promotes voluntary compliance with the law by providing technical assistance, training, consultation, and dissemination of materials. The center is actively involved in addressing issues impacting employment, community participation, architectural accessibility, and accessible technology. The Great Lakes ADA Center also maintains a Spanish version of its website, which provides information on the Americans with Disabilities Act. In the past year, the Great Lakes ADA Center provided over 40 audio conferences and webinars on various topics, and the archives can be found at their website, which is listed on this slide. Sessions are held on a monthly basis and cover a variety of topics concerning accessibility to the built environment, information and communication technologies, transportation, and more. Feel free to check out their extensive list of trainings on their website, and they just have a wealth of information that I encourage you to look at. IDHD has experts in training on a wide range of topics. In the last year, we provided over 400 community education training events that reached over 18,000 people with disabilities, families, and professionals to support full and meaningful lives of people with disabilities. Over half of the trainings provided were held in Illinois, and the rest were done nationally and internationally. Many of the training topics and expertise stem from the research and interventions we do. For example, The Future Is Now provides training to people with intellectual disabilities and families to plan for the future as parents age. Tamara will talk more about this later when she discusses research. We have projects around working with communities in Illinois, such as charter schools, as well as entrepreneurship for people with disabilities. One of our most requested topics is around sexuality and disability. Susan Kahan, a licensed clinical professional counselor in our family clinic, has presented at national conferences on her groundbreaking approach to working with children with disabilities who have experienced sexual trauma. Jaejin Pak, IDHD's Community Education and Training Coordinator, does great work that connects us to Illinois Imagines and focuses on sexual violence prevention. We've developed a sexuality and disability consortium from seeing the need for more of a focus on healthy relationships for people with disabilities, especially people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Another example of trainings is a partnership with the Council on Quality and Leadership. We might be on the wrong slide. Another example of trainings is a partnership with the Council on Quality and Leadership on the training grant that focuses on stakeholder education throughout the state of Illinois. Funded by the Illinois Council on Developmental Disabilities, one of our sister agencies, the project, titled Home and Community-Based Services, Advocates Creating Transformation, focuses on educating people with disabilities and their families about the 2014 Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services regulations regarding home and community-based services waivers. To date, we've done over 50 trainings across the state and have put on 2 webinars with more in the works. Additionally, we host a number of peer support groups that provide people with disabilities and their families important support from a peer perspective by others who really get it. Please feel free to sign up for these groups or send information to people that you know who may be interested. Tamar mentioned the ASPE group, the Autism Spectrum People in Education, which is led by a peer mentor who's a graduate student in disability studies here named Helen Rottier. This peer support group for college students from 4 different universities in the Chicagoland area on autism spectrum meets regularly throughout the academic year, and the group focuses on peer interaction, support, and relationship building in a fun environment. A newer group that we have is the Disabled People of Color group, or PDOC, started by T.J. Gordon, a student at IDHD, with the support of Jaden Tack and his work with the Self-Advocacy Alliance of Illinois. The Sibling Leadership Network, or SLN, is a national nonprofit hosted by IDHD whose mission is to provide siblings of individuals with disabilities the information, support, and tools to advocate with their brothers and sisters and to promote the issues important to them and their entire families. I serve as the part-time executive director. There are currently over 6,000 members and chapters in 27 states. The Illinois chapter is SIBS, Supporting Illinois Brothers and Sisters, and you can get involved at the link on this slide. Also, a national SLN conference is being held this summer in St. Paul, Minnesota. Please share with siblings that you know, encourage them to get involved. And the website is siblingleadership.org.
I'm going to talk about Goal 3, which has to do with research. So we play a leading role in Illinois in conducting research and evaluations on important topics that help determine policies and practices. And we've played a leading role in quite a few evaluations and looking at model programs. One example of a model program that we've had some national funding to do research on is PRIDE. And PRIDE is a research project that helps refugees with disabilities gain employment. It is one of the few projects like that around the country. Some of you may know that the State of the States and Developmental Disabilities, which provides national data about the rankings of different states in terms of their financial commitment and their community commitment, was started here under David Braddock, my predecessor, who in more recent years moved to the University of Colorado, and we have continued to work on that for many years until most recently. And so that started here, and actually one of the main people working on that is one of our alumni, Amy Lulinski, who trained here with a PhD. We've been keeping a data set of people who leave the state-operated developmental centers and to see what happens to people when they leave the state-operated developmental centers. We have an evaluation and policy center that organizes a lot of these different research projects, particularly in the state. We have played a large role in evaluating the closures of institutions. I started my career with the evaluation of the Dixon closure, which was quite a few years ago, the Galesburg closure, which was also many years ago. More recently, we did the Howe closures and the Jacksonville closures, and really trying to understand the outcomes for people, but also trying to understand the processes and how to make it better, how to make it so that there's less objections and also smoother transitions for people and for families as these various state-operated mental centers close or phase down. We've been doing quite a few work in the area of dual diagnosis, starting with one of the aspects was Amy Lulinski's wonderful dissertation that looked at the community capacity for community providers to deal with dual diagnosis, and found that there wasn't a very good capacity, a big surprise, but that most of the people were going straight to the emergency rooms when they had problems or calling the police. We did an evaluation of the SSTs, the service support teams, and we had a lot of recommendations that came out of that, and after that came the SSH, the short-term stabilization homes, which we are now evaluating and working with Envision and individual advocacy groups to really try to understand what's working, what doesn't work as well, and how can we improve those programs. We have done an evaluation of the LIGAS consent decree and looked at the outcomes and what were some of the issues that families reported and that people with disabilities reported, some of the benefits for families for having been pulled from the PUNS list, and some of the issues of what families were less happy about. So for many years, we studied the home-based support services program and have published quite a few articles about it. We've done briefs about it. We really looked at the benefits of that program over many years. In the initial years, it was done by lottery, so we had quite a large sample of people to look at. We take the research that we do to help with advocacy efforts. I know when the state was looking to close Jacksonville Developmental Center, we developed briefs that the ARC was able to use from the data that we pulled together from the literature. So those are just some examples. Certainly, you can tap into us for evaluations. We work closely with the community agencies. One example is that we are working with Envision. We got a grant from the Retirement Research Foundation that Lieke Van Humen is heading up, that's taking an old curriculum we developed on person-centered later life planning for people aging with developmental disabilities, and they're developing a newer version and testing it at Envision and doing the evaluation of that as part of a new curriculum now called Engaging with Aging. And it's a wonderful curriculum that includes very inclusive research and really helping people get included in the community as they age. Our research, we have had and continue to have some very large research centers, and one is the Family Support Research and Training Center. The other is the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on Developmental Disabilities and Aging, which was aging and then became health. But out of that came some curriculums and interventions that have really been scaled up all over the world. One is Health Matters, which some of you may have heard of, and that's the Health Matters curriculum is an evidence-based health promotion curriculum for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and that one also has a whole Train the Trainer program and certification. It's being done in nearly every state, had scale-ups, really amazing scale-ups all over. Most recently, it was translated into Swedish with a whole Swedish version that's being done. Beth Marks and Yasmina Sisrek are heading up that effort of Health Matters and doing that training throughout the country. Another is The Future is Now, that we've developed a Train the Trainer version. It is also evidence-based and came out of our research and training centers. And most recently, we did an RFP for 25 agencies applied to be part of our Train the Trainers, and we were able to pick 6 of them that were part of it, and we're continuing to do that work. And that's to help people plan for the future, especially as they're aging. Caring for Myself is a curriculum developed by Sandy Magagne that's helping Latino mothers care for themselves, mothers that she found in her research were having health consequences of caring for an adult that had intellectual and developmental disabilities. And most recently, she developed the Parents Taking Action as part of the Family Support Research and Training Center, and that's a program for Latino parents um, who have a child with autism, and it uses promotoras, which are like community health workers, who are also Latino mothers of kids with autism. So those are some examples of ones that we've been rolling out nationally. That particular program she also did in Colombia, so some have had a lot of international interest. That's just an example. We try to develop products that we can test that are considered evidence-based and can be used across the world.
And our fourth area is information dissemination, and this is where we really take all of the information, the research, the good work we do, and try to get it into the hands of people in the community to make change. IDHD faculty, staff, and students present and exhibit at conferences and events around the state, country, and world. If people want us to come present on different topics at different events, feel free to reach out and let us know. We get our research and policy information out to a wide range of audiences so that they can use it to advocate and make a difference in the lives of people with disabilities and families. We also get research out through peer-reviewed journal articles as well as accessible briefs that Tamar mentioned. So we're sharing it at different levels of detail for different audiences so people can use it in meaningful ways. I encourage you to go on our website and check out more information, access our accessible research briefs, and again, if you would like us to present for your community or organization, please feel free to let us know. If you want to subscribe for updates about the work we do, about the trainings that we have, feel free to send an email to listserv@uic.edu, and in the body of the message, include the text subscribe to the Illinois UCEDD listserv, and you will be added to the list, and you'll be able to get regular updates. We want to open it up for questions now, so I encourage you, if you have any questions, to feel free to type into the chat box, and we can answer your questions at this time.
And the chat box is open by the little icon of looks like a bubble or a comment section in the lower right-hand corner once you've expanded the various options for the webinar platform. And you can just type in and it will be viewable for us to be able to respond. Thank you.
We'll give it a minute for questions, if anybody has any. I know we've shared a lot of information. We really have a lot going on here, and so we hope that the information that we shared with you helps to give you a good overview of all of the work that we do, as well as how it relates to some things that you may be doing. And we really encourage you to reach out to us if there's any ways you might want to collaborate or have us do research or evaluations or trainings with you. So, Tamar, do you want to talk about how people can contact us for research if they're interested in tapping into us for research or evaluation?
Right. We get quite a few requests from local agencies that would like to partner. For example, we have local agencies that might want to go, for example, for a foundation grant. I know, for example, that when there was a consortium of agencies that wanted to go for one of the Coleman grants, they asked us if we would do the evaluation and help provide technical assistance, and so we did that as part of that. Or we had a request, one of the agencies was going for a foundation grant and they needed a university partner as part of the request for proposals, and we partnered with them to do a health promotion one. And at that time that was with Clearbrook, and they were able to get quite a large foundation grant to do a health promotion project there, the Health Matters project. Those are just two examples of agencies that we've worked with. Sometimes we can do the project, sometimes we have students that might be very interested in doing that. We're working, for example, with Center for Independent Futures, wanted an evaluation of a project they were doing for the DV Council, and so we were able to do that. So, you know, we are very happy to do that if it's, and it may be a way to help you succeed in getting your grants by having a university partner that's able to do that kind of evaluation. Sometimes you're doing wonderful demonstration programs and you want the world to know about it. And one way to get the world to know about it is to partner with a university partner, because then we develop it into something that could be shared with the network of universities and across the country.
Thanks, Tamara. So we have a couple more questions. So one other question, somebody asked to tell more about the academic program. So I can share a little bit about that. So now, you know, we have the graduate program and then the undergraduate program. And the graduate program now, people can get a PhD in disability studies. And it's a really amazing interdisciplinary program where our students learn a unique way of thinking about disability and disability policy, and about the services and supports for people with disabilities to be able to really become leaders in the disability field and make changes. It's a program that I'm currently a part of, and I've really enjoyed the classes. They're small classes with a lot of dialogue and engagement. The professors are really the top in the country in the field that are teaching these classes, and so it's exciting to be part of the program. And then our undergraduates, the major and the minor in our undergraduate program, is really serving as a pipeline for younger students to learn about disability and then bring the information that they learn into the work that they end up doing, or if they specialize in a different graduate program like social work or occupational therapy in the future, they have a really great foundation about disability to work off of. Is there anything you want to add, Tamar, to that?
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay. We have another question.
There's one on clinical.
Wait, related to academic programming, we have another question. Are there assistantships or other forms of funding available through the UCEDD to support tuition? And does it cost money to be part of LEND? So, Tamar.
Okay, I can answer that. Our PhD students are almost all funded through either research assistantships or teaching assistantships. If they have either of those, they do not pay tuition. It's for the undergraduate program, that's different. We don't fund the undergraduate program. However, the university has many students on scholarships. In fact, the University of Illinois, Chicago, is one of the universities across the whole country that has the highest percentage of scholarship students, Pell Grants, they're called, as for being a Research One university. So, you know, there are various ways of getting support. What's wonderful with our PhD program is that we have so many students. Because we have so many students in our undergraduate program, we are able to offer teaching assistantships, which is really a wonderful training ground for people.
And the LEND program does not cost money. It actually provides money to students who are in different graduate programs to be part of the LEND. In addition to their other graduate program, it like supplements, so they can have a specialization learning about working with people with autism and neurodevelopmental disabilities. And so there's a stipend provided to all of the students that are part of the LEND program.
What's interesting, we haven't said very much about the LEND, which, by the way, is directed by Kruti Acharya, who is a physician and a faculty member here, is that it's part of, there's several universities involved here, including University of Chicago, Rush University, University of Illinois Champaign, and Southern Illinois University. And so they send students, and it's across many disciplines, and including fellows that are studying to be pediatricians, people studying to be occupational therapy, physical therapy, disability studies, behavior analysis, so many different psychology, social work, education, so dentistry, psychiatry, so really across disciplines. There's also the disciplines of families and self-advocates. So there's always at least one family member that's part of the LEN, and also a self-advocate, a person with disabilities. It's an awesome program. They have a didactic part, which people come here on Thursdays from 4 to 7 if they're picked. And they do get mentored by a training coordinator for each of these disciplines. And then they also have to do leadership projects in the community, and that's where the community agencies, we have relationships with so many, so that they can go out and do some really cool projects to help the agencies.
We have another question that asks, do the various clinical services charge a fee, or are they covered by grants or Medicaid?
So I can answer that. I'd say all the above. So we are part of the Medicaid managed care programs, which unfortunately, as I said, don't pay for very much of the diagnostics. They'll pay for the speech and the OT and the PT diagnostics, but the psych evaluations, so much of that is paid through the TAP grant that we have. Unfortunately, we don't have the large family clinic grant that we used to have, where we were able to see a lot more people that had no other kinds of funding, but we do the best we can. We also do billing of private insurance, and there are some people who pay for services. So it's really a whole gamut. For the assistive technology unit, they're able to get services if they're part of vocational rehabilitation or part of Colbert. And so those are the two funding sources we have. We hope that we could get some funding for the developmental disabilities piece. We're starting to do some funding through the Medicaid managed care. Again, the funding is fairly poor for that.
So it looks like we've answered all of the questions we've received. We want to encourage you to reach out to us with any further questions or comments. This slide has our contact information. And we hope that you'll join us for our next webinar in the series. We'll be sending out further details about dates and topics in the future. And thank you for being part of our first IDHD webinar series launch. And have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Bye.